Hello parents, we've been working on multiplication in math class lately, and I wanted to take some time to make a video to compare the lattice method that we've been using in math class to the traditional method that you are probably used to seeing. So to do this, I'm going to take the problem 56 times 11 and do it in both methods so we can compare and contrast the differences and see why both methods work. So for the lattice method, I'm going to take my first number 56 and I'm going to write it along the top. Now, because 56 has two place values, I'm going to divide this box in half. Then I'm going to take my second number, 11, and write it along the vertical side. Because 11 has two place values as well, I'm going to divide the box in half again. Next, I'm going to divide the smaller boxes into triangles to create columns along the side. You can see that each one creates a column like this. Now I'll be multiplying my numbers. I'm going to take 6 times 1, which is 6, and I'm going to write the 6 in the bottom half of the first box. I'm going to write a 0 in the top half. This means that there are 6 1s and that there are 0 10s. Now I'm going to multiply my 1 times my 5. I'm going to write 5 and 0. And I'm going to do it with the bottom numbers as well. 1 times 6 is 6. And 1 times 5 is 5. Now I'm going to be adding up along my columns. So in the first column, there's only the 6. So I'm going to write 6. Next, in my next column, I have 6, 0, and 5. So I'm going to be adding up 6 plus 5 to make 11. I'm going to write my first one here. And my next one, I'm going to carry to the next place value, which is this next column. So I'm going to write it here. So now I have 0, 5, 1, and 0. So that will add up to be 6. And in my last column, I have a 0. So I'm going to write 0 here. Now I have my answer, which is 616. And that is the answer for 56 times 11. Now I'm going to show you in the traditional method. So in the traditional method, we write our numbers vertically. So I'm going to write 56 times 11 and draw my line. So first, I multiply down. So I have 6 times 1, which is 6. And now I have 5 times 1, which is 5. Next, I'm going to cross multiply from 1 and 6 and 5 and 1. However, because we are using digits in the tens place, I need to carry my 0. So I'm going to write that here. So first I'll do 1 times 6, which is 6. And then I'll do 5 times 1, which is 5. And now I'm going to add up along the columns. So I have 6 plus 0 is 6. 5 plus 6 is 11. So I'm going to write my 1, carry my other 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. And you can see that we got the same answer in our traditional method as well as our lattice method. So now I'm going to explain to you why this method works. In my traditional method, my first step was to multiply 6 times 1. You can see that represented in the lattice method right here. I had 1 times 6. Next, in my traditional method, I multiplied 5 times 1. That is represented in my lattice method as 1 times 5, which is this box here. Going back to my traditional method, I multiplied 1 times 6. But because the 1 is in the tens place, it is really 60. So I'm going to write that here, 1 times 6. And that is represented here as 1 times 6. You can see along these columns that 6 is actually in the tens place. So that is the same as in the traditional method. Lastly, in my traditional method, I multiplied 5 times 1, giving me my 5 here. That is represented in the lattice method by this box here. So you can see in both methods we did the same exact multiplication problems. However, it is easier for students to see it when it's laid out in the lattice method, so that is why I'm giving them another option to learn how to multiply. Having the columns helps them keep the numbers in their correct place value. And sometimes students forget that in the traditional method, you do have to carry this 0. So that is why we have been learning 2 different methods for multiplication, so that they have different options that they can use. Thank you.